All right, so you've spent months, right, pouring everything into your plants, getting every single detail dialed in. But you know what? The final, and I mean the most critical step, the one that makes the difference between a good harvest and a truly legendary one, well, that all happens after you make that final chop. So let's get right into it. Let's dive into the art and the science of getting that perfect finish. Oh man, we've all been there, haven't we? That dreaded fresh-cut grass smell. Ugh. It's the smell of pure heartbreak, really. All that potential just gone. It's a tough lesson, and one our buddy Sid learns the hard way. That quote, that's his story. And it's the exact problem we're going to solve today. So, this is where we start, right? Step 1, observing the problem. See, here's the thing. Drying and curing, it's not just about, getting the water out. Not at all. It's this super active, transformative process. This is where all the magic happens inside the plant. The chemistry is refining itself, compounds are converting to boost potency, and those rich, complex flavors start to develop. And that smooth smoke we're all after, this is where it comes from. So yeah, patience here, it literally pays off in quality.
Okay, so to really nail this, we've got to move past just guessing and get into real precision. This is our reasoning phase. And for that, we're going to bring in our AI coach, Virtual Loco. He's the one who's going to break down the critical numbers and turn all that complicated math into simple, data-driven logic that we can actually use.
So most of us growers, we know all about relative humidity, right? RH. It's basically how much moisture is in the air around your flower. And look, it's a super useful number for controlling your dry room, for sure. But, and this is a big but, it's only telling you half the story.
Right, so if RH is only half the story, then what's the other half? Well, this is it. The real number we need to be watching for safety and quality is water activity, or AW. Now, what this does is measure the free water inside the flower itself. The water that mold and all those other nasty microbes just love. This is the gold standard, the number that commercial labs actually use to say, yep, this product is safe.
So let's break this down. Here's the key difference. Relative humidity, that's external. It's the environment, the room, the thing you control. Water activity, on the other hand, is internal. It's the actual state of your flower. Think of it this way. You're fiddling with a thermostat, the RH, in the room to change the temperature, the AW, of the thing inside the room. So the big question is, what's the magic number? What AW are we actually aiming for? Okay, listen up. Anything above 0.65 AW, that is the absolute danger zone, the no-go zone. If your flower's internal water activity gets as high, you're not just inviting mold and bacteria to a party, you're rolling out the red carpet for them. This is where an entire harvest goes down the drain. But this is the sweet spot, the Goldilocks zone. We're talking between 0.55 and 0.62 AW. In this range, it's just right. You've gotten rid of enough of that free water to completely shut down microbial growth, but you've left just enough to preserve those precious terpenes, that perfect texture, all the good stuff. This is our target for a perfect, stable cure. All right, so we've got the science down. Let's get back to the hands-on stuff. We're moving from reasoning about the numbers to deciding what to do. And your very first big decision right after you chop is how you're going to trim. And trust me, this isn't just about what you prefer. It's a major strategic choice that's going to have a huge impact on your whole drying process and ultimately your final product. So, you've got two main paths. Wet trimming, that's when you trim right after chopping. It's fast and it gets moisture out of there quick, which can be a lifesaver if you're in a humid climate. Then there's dry trimming. You wait until the plant is already dry, then you trim. It's slow. It takes a ton of patience. But that slow, gentle process, that's what protects those super delicate terpenes. It's a classic trade-off, really. Speed and safety versus the absolute best possible quality. So, how do you make the call? Well, here's Virtual Loco's take, and it's pure logic. It all comes down to your environment. Can you control your humidity? If you absolutely cannot guarantee that you can keep your drying space locked in between 45 and 55% RH, then a slow, dry trim is just too risky. Mold becomes a real threat. In that situation, wet trimming is the smart, pragmatic, and safer choice. No question. Okay, decision made. Now, it doesn't matter which trim method you picked, it's time to act. The drying phase is where you build the entire foundation for quality. We call it the slow and low principle. And listen, there are 3 golden rules here that are completely non-negotiable. You can't break them. Rule number 1, temperature. You gotta keep it cool. We're talking between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. If you go any warmer, you're literally just baking off those precious volatile terpenes. You know, the things that give your strain its amazing smell and flavor. They'll just evaporate into thin air. Rule number 2, humidity. You have to maintain that 45 to 55% RH we've been talking about. No wiggle room here. If it's too low, your buds dry way too fast. They trap that green chlorophyll and boom, you get that nasty hay smell. And if it's too high, well, you're right back in that mold danger zone. And rule number 3, and this one's a biggie, maybe the most important one. It has to be done in complete and total darkness. Light, especially UV light, will straight up destroy THC and other cannabinoids. Darkness protects your potency. End of story. So how do you put all this into practice? Let's look at your options here. If you're going for the absolute top shelf quality and you've got a perfectly controlled dry climate, then a whole plant hang is the way to go. For most of us, though, hanging individual branches is a fantastic, balanced approach. But let's say you're in a really humid place and you had to wet trim. Well, in that case, rack drying is going to be your best friend to get things dried safely and quickly. Now, to hold these conditions steady, you're going to need the right toolkit. We're talking a good dehumidifier for sure, maybe a small AC unit to keep those temps down, and you'll want some fans for gentle, indirect air circulation. And I mean indirect. Never, ever point a fan right at your buds. And you know, a quick shout out to our friends over at Gambit Growing. They are absolutely fantastic at helping growers get their hands on the exact tools they need to get this whole process dialed in. Okay, so my environment is perfect. I've been patient. I'm following all the rules. This is exactly where our buddy Sid would chime in and ask, yeah, but how do I know when it's done? Like really done and ready to cure? And you know what? That is the million-dollar question. Well, the classic, tried and true answer is the stem snap test. And don't just feel the outside of the big buds. That can be misleading. You want to take one of the smaller, popcorn-sized stems and bend it. If it snaps, I mean a clean, crisp, audible crack, you are good to go. If it just bends or feels kind of soft and mushy, nope, there's still too much moisture locked inside. You got to give it more time. All right, once you hear that snap, the drying phase is officially over. Congratulations, the heavy lifting is done. Now, the art of the cure begins. This is all about refinement. It's where that internal moisture stabilizes, all those harsh compounds like chlorophyll break down, and the real, true character of your flower finally comes out to play. The classic way to do this, of course, is with good old glass mason jars. You'll want to fill them up about 3/4 of the way full. Then, for the first week, maybe 2, you just open them up once a day for 15, maybe 30 minutes. We call it burping. It lets out any excess moisture and gets some fresh air in there. But honestly, it's more than that. This daily ritual, it's your feedback loop. It's your quality control. Every single time you pop that lid, you're observing, you're smelling, you're feeling. It's like you're checking in with your harvest. Now, there is a modern alternative. These special bags with terp lock technology. They're pretty cool. They use this special film that automatically regulates the humidity, so you don't have to do that daily burping. And listen, this is a huge warning, straight from Virtual Loco. These bags can maintain a perfect environment, but they absolutely cannot fix a bad one. If you put flour in there that's even a little bit too wet, it's game over. You'll ruin the whole batch. Look, even when you have the perfect plan, things can still go a little sideways. You've got to know how to troubleshoot. And your best tools for diagnosing problems during the cure? Your own senses, especially your nose. Let's talk about a common problem that Sid, of course, ran into. So you pop open your jar, and instead of that beautiful smell, you get a whiff of ammonia. Whoa, that is a massive red flag. That smell tells you one thing. Your flower was too wet when you jarred it, and now some nasty anaerobic microbes are having a field day. The fix has to be immediate. Get everything out of that jar, spread it out on a tray, and let it air out for a couple of hours before you even think about putting it back in. You have to act fast if you want any chance of saving it.
So let's bring it all together. Just remember these 2 things. Patience equals potency, and data drives consistency. That's really it. And in the end, this brings us to the final step of our whole process, reflection. Because the final test, it's not some meter or a number on a screen. It's you. It's your own senses. So tonight, I want you to go open your jar and just inhale. Take a really deep breath. And if it smells exactly like that beautiful, specific aroma of the strain you worked so hard to grow, then you did it. You absolutely nailed it. You took it from just good all the way to legendary.